Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Digital Roundtable on CxO Global TV. CxO Global Forum is a knowledge sharing platform for all C levels across the globe. We take massive pride in contributing to the knowledge economy. The Digital Roundtable was a signature program that was started that involved our influencers. So these are the heads of departments and project leads and those influencers who've made a considerable amount of difference in the fields that they're working in. Without further ado, let me introduce you to our special guest today, Mr. Nabil Amjad, who is the head of cloud services at Jazz. Now, it was interesting. I had been meaning to discuss this topic for some time now. There's a lot of talk about cloudification and buzzword called, cloud services, especially post-pandemic. And I realized who better than to involve Nabil to speak about the topic of formulating the right kind of cloud strategy. Welcome to the show, Nabil. Thank you for joining us.
Grateful to be here.
Nabil, thank you very much for your time. And what I wanted to start with is that cloud computing has, especially post pandemic, brought a revolution in our daily lives at home, at workplaces, etc. And technology has made computer power available at an affordable price. Now, please elaborate on the importance of cloud computing and technology for a country like Pakistan. What exactly does cloud do for us?
Right, that's a very important question, and I think in the light of the entire pandemic situation since last year, it merits a lot of discussion of how cloud can actually revolutionize not just the industry in Pakistan but our lives as well, and how it touches our lives as a normal consumer or as a business as well. So if you see two or three basic pillars of any digital economy, it starts with the computing at palms, which is our cell phone, the data in motion, which could be 4G. What I meant to say is the internet could be 4G, could be a DSL, could be a fiber to the home connection, but a high speed internet connection. And then the third thing is the computing platform, which is at the remote side, which is serving all that data. Right. So if you connect all these things together, you get a digital ecosystem. Right. So computing at the palm, which is our cell phone, is prevalently available. There is a lot of internet penetration going on as well. However, the lesser known subject and a lesser talked subject is computing at the remote end. Primarily, ये सारा काम जो है, what we do is that we build our data centers, we buy that hardware ourselves, we power it up, and then we buy licenses on top of that or softwares on top of that to run it. इस सारी चीज को what if we do is if we combine them together at a service provider's location or at a hyperscaler location, we can get all these things on a rental basis or on a pay as you go use chart. Pakistan जैसे मुल्क के लिए it is really important and it becomes detrimental is due to multiple factors, starting from the fact that we are a dollar-starved nation, so we have to preserve upon the green paper that we have, which is dollars. So we cannot afford to send and spend a lot of money on the infrastructure, and everybody would have to set up their own data centers. हम इस चीज को afford नहीं कर सकते. दूसरा इसमें element है power का. That means if you set up a data center, तो आपको बहुत ज़्यादा power जो है वो एनर्जी जो है उसकी ज़रूरत है, एंड एट टाइम्स वो इफेक्ट भी इस तरीके से होती है कि यू हैव टू पावर द एंटायर डेटा सेंटर आप एंड आपको उसकी यूजेज नहीं होते. इसी तरीके से जब हम कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर करते हैं और स्पेंड करते हैं तो बहुत सारी वैल्यू जो है it drains out of the country because all these OEMs are not generally based out of Pakistan, and we don't develop servers and computing infrastructure within Pakistan. तो इसमें से almost 80% value जो है मुल्क से बाहर drain हो जाती है. And we buy जब हम ये बहुत ज़्यादा infrastructure buy करके रख लेते हैं तो हम and in most of the cases we do not fully utilize it up until third or the fourth year हम उसकी capacity को choke नहीं करते. So one, we lose on investment. Number two, we spend a lot of power on that, and at the same time जो time value of money है उसको भी हम at times use कर सकते हैं. With having a cloud computing resource available either through a local service provider or through a hyperscaler outside Pakistan, what we can basically do is गेट कंप्यूट ऑन डिमांड, जिसका मतलब है कि आपको कभी भी जितनी कंप्यूट चाहिए आप उतनी स्पिन अप करें, जितनी कैपेसिटी चाहिए उसको उतनी ही यूज करें, एंड जब आपको वो कैपेसिटी नहीं चाहिए आप अपने रिसोर्सेज को कम कर सकें. तो दिस इज द power that in a nutshell it brings into a country like Pakistan, where there is a startup ecosystem which is developing. There are a lot of new companies and new businesses registering. Instead of sort of investing upfront on buying hardware, setting up a data center, and energizing it, small businesses and even large businesses can immediately go subscribe a service and then just start off with using the cloud.
Absolutely, you're right about that. But what do you think is the right strategy, the right mix, the secret to developing the ideal cloud computing strategy?
So, what I would think of is starting from a chaos monkey sort of a thing, right? So, cloud gives you the capability to reimagine things, right, and reimagine everything that you want to do. So, अगर आप small business हैं तो उसके लिए तो बड़ा convenient है कि you go on the internet, go to any service provider, cloud-based service provider, pay through certain means, and then get started with the service. When it comes to developing a strategy, I think ये हमें जो reimagination वाला angle है जो उसके लिए capability देता है कि I can now put certain applications on-prem and then take certain applications abroad or onto a cloud provider. इसको हम करते इस तरीके से हैं कि let's say I have certain applications जिनको मुझे लो लेटेंसी चाहिए तो मैं उनको लोकली होस्ट कर लेता हूँ, एंड देन देयर आर सर्टेन एप्लीकेशंस जो मेरे इंटरनेशनल कस्टमर्स को सर्व करती हैं, उनको आई कैन टेक अब्रॉड ऑन टू एनी क्लाउड प्रोवाइडर. The benefit that you get again with the cloud is how can you sort of stitch all these components together, and how you can just by the use of internet get your applications up and running. एक और जो strategy point of view से element important है वो है DevOps का. You want to make sure that आप you are not bringing any downtime when you are developing your applications. तो आप रन टाइम के ऊपर अपने प्लेटफॉर्म्स को इवॉल्व कर रहे हैं, रन टाइम के ऊपर ही अपने प्लेटफॉर्म का कोड चेंज कर रहे हैं, and the cloud gives you this capability and this power to sort of do it on the go and without bringing any downtime to your business. From a strategy point of view, you want to make sure ke what business are you serving, what are the services that are running, जिनसे आपने अपने कस्टमर्स को सर्व करना है, या अपने इंटरनल, चाहे वो इंटरनल कस्टमर्स हैं चाहे आपके एक्सटर्नल कस्टमर्स हैं, एंड हाउ डू यू वांट टू कनेक्ट देम टुगेदर. इस चीज को मद्देनजर रखते हुए यू कैन क्राफ्ट आउट अ स्ट्रैटेजी डिपेंडिंग अपॉन के if there is a government or a regulatory oversight onto your data. You want to make sure that the data is private, it does not go beyond geographical boundaries of the country, so you can opt for an onshore service provider. If you are okay with any data which is publicly available and does not have any regulatory oversight, you can take it to cloud. From another strategic point of view, you want to make sure कि आपने उसके अंदर सिक्योरिटी का एलिमेंट किस तरीके से डिस्कस करना है, आपकी एप्लीकेशन कितनी इलास्टिक है, यानी कितना उसने एक्सपैंड होना है, स्केल होना है, और उसके किस किस कंपोनेंट ने स्केल होना है. अगेन क्लाउड के साथ यू गेट दिस अपॉर्चुनिटी एंड द कैपेबिलिटी अलॉन्ग विद द पावर to sort of break down your application and your platform into small services and only scale that part जो कि आपको एक certain टाइम के ऊपर ज़रूरत है. क्लाउड के साथ आप माइक्रो सर्विसेज आर्किटेक्चर डिप्लॉय कर सकते हैं अपनी एप्लीकेशंस का, जिसके साथ आपके पास ये कैपेबिलिटी आ जाती है कि यू कैन ओनली स्केल a certain component of a service rather than scaling the entire application. So again, I would say reimagining anything that you want to do around your business is done through cloud.
Right. Now, on the other hand, a poorly architected cloud strategy can have serious security implications. Now, what are some of the risks when developing a cloud computing strategy? Is it a risk to your data, safety, security? What exactly are the implications?
Right. So the risk part starts from the risk appetite that you have. A lot of companies have financial risk appetites, but do not have an appetite around the risk of cyber security, right? So they don't have a cyber security risk appetite, even documented. They are not aware about the crown jewels, which is कि आपके key assets कौन से हैं जिनको आपको protect करना है. And at times you don't really have an inventory of your critical assets or the crown jewels जिनको आपने protect करना होता है. So the subject is not really limited to the cloud part as well, but I'll touch upon that angle as well. Starting from the risk part, you want to make sure that whatever you are trying to defend, कि वो area क्या है जिसको आपने protect करना. So you want to set up a defensible infrastructure, just like a zombie apocalypse जो आपको attack कर रहा हो. So you want to have barbed wires around your fort to make sure कि you have this thing available to defend against any particular attack. This goes for cloud or no cloud. Coming towards a poorly architected cloud strategy or a poorly architected cloud service could result into a breach. Look, the breach or a hack is bound to happen one way or the other. It could be through external threats. It could be coming from an insider threat. An insider threat could be a malicious or a non-malicious threat actor too, right? So it is bound to happen. What you can do as information security professionals, or what we can do as information security and cloud professors, is to sort of delay that. And how do you delay that? You keep on improving that. So there was an approach that Netflix took upon
Right.
early up, which was around chaos monkeys, which they would disrupt a certain part of their systems in the runtime and see if their disaster recovery or business continuity procedures would work or not. That's how you keep on improving. When while they were hosted on AWS, when an outage happened on the western side of AWS data centers, only Netflix was up because they had their business continuity plans working and tested. Right. So these are a few examples with which you can improve and have an implication on that.
Yeah, but see, it's interesting that you mentioned AWS, and then we've got Azure and a couple of other services as well. Now, we know that there are all these giants that are coming to the market as well, or will eventually enter Pakistan. Will that not put the local cloud service providers out of business, or is there enough room for everybody to set up? I mean, does that not threaten you as the head of cloud services at Jazz? I'm sorry, it's a controversial question, but
Not at all. I'm glad that you asked that. What we at Jazz are, we don't take hyperscalers as our adversaries. We take them as our collaborators. So this is an era of not competition, but co-opetition. So I see them as our partners to growth rather than as a threat or as an adversary. Like I mentioned earlier, you cannot compete, or a country like Pakistan may as well not be able to compete with these hyperscalers because of the massive scale that they have, hundreds and thousands of racks of computing power, and a lot of investment on the R&D. The Amazon spend on the R&D is humongous, right? So you cannot compete with that. So the best part is that you focus not on the resource, but focus on the services part of the cloud computing. So when we go, or I would go adopting on as a user some cloud, I would want to see कि मेरा fit बेहतर कौन सा पड़ता है. If my use cases are better served locally, if I want a completely private connectivity or a completely private connection with a low latency application, I would want to host my workload somewhere within Pakistan. And then comes the
right.
regulatory and government oversight and the data privacy laws that will be in place, right? But if my use case allows me to go abroad and my application is not PIP sensitive, right? What I can do is that I can host anywhere. And as a service provider, I see it as an opportunity to enable customers starting their to start their cloud journey, because ye pehla step hai, and then you can put them on any cloud which is more suitable to their workload. So it doesn't make sense that you bring everything into Pakistan, and it also won't make sense that you take everything outside Pakistan. So I think it will be a mix of hyperscalers and local cloud providers if this this thing or this initiative would gain traction. Again, cost is one factor, but on the other hand, I would see services gaining more traction as compared to resources. So hyperscale nullify us point of view se ho jayega. So in short, it's not a threat. It's more of an opportunity for us, for players like Jazz, to sort of capitalize on that.
Right. Now, keeping in view some of the risks surrounding cloud computing strategy, um, do the pros outweigh the cons when developing one for your business, or is it the other way around? I'm sure you spoke from the perspective of cloud providers. Now, what about from the perspective of, let's say, let's not talk about the MNCs or the FMCGs, but I'm talking about, like startups or SMEs, for example.
Right. So it will all the pros, in my opinion, would always outweigh the cons. One, you have the power to set up or start your startup with certain clicks. अब आपको startup है तो आपने कोई application या कोई platform है उसको बनाना है और उसको host करना है. You don't have a lot of upfront capital. So you would want to go to hyperscalers or local cloud service provider and just start off very small. जब आप बड़ी बेसिक्स एग्जांपल, अगर आपने सर्वर खरीदना है, आपको अपफ्रंट पैसे चाहिए, देन यू वांट टू लाइट देम अप in a data center, you if you're hosting somewhere, you want to pay for that. So you can start small and then eventually grow. And with the kind of tools that cloud allows you, उस सारे इकोसिस्टम को आपको अपने डेटा सेंटर के अंदर या अपने परचेज कंप्यूट के ऊपर सेटअप करना, it is a humongous effort. So you want to sort of cut through that as well, because time is money as well. So on
Absolutely.
any day you would want to outweigh this pro against going towards cloud. The cons necessarily are learning what type of cloud are you going to, or choosing what type of cloud suits you best. ये एक जरूर एक effort है, but once you are knowledgeable on the platform or the service provider that you are hosting, I think sky is the limit with cloud as far as your business is concerned.
Right. Nabil, I'm going to ask you one more question. So we've spoken about some of the cloud providers. We've spoken about the angle for the businesses, even small businesses and startups. But what about those startups who want to, or maybe small companies that want to start providing cloud services? What is your advice for them?
Again, focus on not the resource economy, but focus on the service part of that. We want people, all of us want people and companies and providers, either small or big, to be able to help their customers begin a cloud journey, handhold them, walk them through that, and then grow with them, right? So my advice to any cloud service provider, per se, would be, any small or big one, is to focus primarily on the services part. Resource is something that you can again set up at any time, and you may have that, and there will be use cases to set up locally. At the same time, develop expertise on the hyperscalers as well, because they spent a lot of money, so there's no point in reinventing the wheel. Get used to and get comfortable with their services and help customers solving their business problems using any cloud service that is feasible for them or that is appropriate for them.
Brilliant. Thank you, Nabil, for that thorough, talk on formulating the right cloud strategy. I learned a lot of new things today, and I'm sure the audience did as well. We're very excited, and I believe that it is the need of the hour. Upon an ending note, I'd like to ask you, what exciting things do you have planned for cloud services at Jazz in the near future?
Right. So while we are in the market for good 1 year or so, and we will be making formal announcements on our cloud pretty soon, hopefully in a month or so. Apart from that, we have some pretty exciting stuff coming up for developers, because that is an area which has been ignored generally in Pakistan. We don't have an ecosystem to support startups and developers and application developers. Primarily, that space is occupied by the hyperscaler. So I'm not saying that we will be completely replacing the hyperscaler option, but we would have something which would match their experience, and at the same time also having the capability to run cloud native applications. So this is something new, and at the same time our focus will be on multi-cloud compute and multi-cloud networking as well. So there is some exciting stuff around this area coming up pretty soon.
All the best, Nabil. Thank you so much for your contribution to the knowledge economy. Please keep enlightening us, stay in touch, and thank you once again for your time.
Thank you for having me over. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That will be all for the digital roundtable today. Please keep watching. Please keep us updated with your comments and feedback. We look forward to them. If you want to know more about the kind of work Nabil Amjad is doing at Jazz, we've shared a link in the description below. And for more information, get in touch with us. It's www.cxoforum.global.